Hello, welcome back to the channel. This is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings. We generally like to talk a load of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general. In this video we're going to be talking about another Euro game. We're going to be talking about Rattus. And in this game the plague will be spreading around Europe. You'll be trying to increase your population in areas that are least likely to be affected by the plague. That will allow you to win the game. So in this video we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules. We'll be telling you what we do like, we don't like. We'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Rattus is... I should always check the dates. I never check the bloody dates on these fucking things. My eyesight is terrible. Well, a few years after it was first released. So remember, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment in that section down below. We'll see you after this. Bollocks! So, Rattus, how'd you play this game? So first thing you're going to be doing in Rattus is you'll be chucking the board out onto the table. It's a very, very small board, so you only need a very small table, right? Everyone will get a number of population cubes and you'll stick them in front of you. You'll put the class cards to one side of the board. You'll flip down the regular rat tokens and then you'll separate them from the starter rat tokens, right? So depending on how many players are playing the game, you'll use a certain number of regions on the board and you'll put one starting rat token in each of the regions that you're playing with, right? You'll put the plague marker in a random region and the youngest player will become the start player and then you'll be able to start playing the bloody game, right? About time bleeding too. So on your turn, three things will happen. The first thing you're going to do, and this is optional, is you'll be able to choose one of the class cards that is either in the public display or you'll be able to steal one off of another player, right? You'll put that in front of you and you'll be able to use that class's action once per turn. So you might want to take or steal the witch, and she allows you to look at two different rat tokens and you'll be able to swap them around if you think one of them is a load of shit. You might want to choose the merchant, and if you've got a merchant you can move up to 3 cubes of your own colour from one region to one of the neighbouring regions. If you choose the peasant, and the player holding that card may add one more cube than usual when they add cubes to a region in phase B, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Don't worry about it, shit your pants. If you've got the knight, then the player holding the card may move the plague piece up 2 steps in phase C, and in addition to that, when the rat tokens are revealed they can use the plague piece to count as 2 neutral cubes, right? You might have the monk and that allows you to move 1 cube from one region to another, and you might have the king, and this good old king lets you take a population cube from a region with no rats in it and stick it in a castle and they're safe from being eliminated by the plague, right? So once you've done shuffling around with the old classes, then you'll be able to add your population cubes to the board. You can choose any region that you want and you can add 1 population cube to a region for each rat token that's in a region, right? If I do this in one region, don't think that you can just start dumping population cubes all over Europe, right? But if there's no rat tokens in a region, then you can't place no cubes in that region, right? And once you've added a nice dump, then you'll move the plague piece to an adjacent region and then you'll do a couple of little things. The plague will then spread. So if the area where the plague token is moved to has 1 rat token, then you'll add 1 rat token to any adjacent region, right? And if it's got more than that, then you will add 2 rat tokens to an adjacent region. So if the plague region contains at least 1 population cube and 1 rat token, then you'll flip over the rat token and you will activate it. You'll look at the symbols on the rat token and you'll see that there is a number with a plus on it, and that means if there's that many population cubes or more, then you will then resolve the bottom icons. So if you look at the symbols, you'll have a symbol that is associated with one of the class cards perhaps, and if the symbol of one of the class cards that you're holding in your hand appears there, then you'll lose a population cube. There's also an M or an A, and that means that the majority shareholder in that region will then lose 1 population cube, and the A means that everybody who has a population cube in that region will then lose 1, right? So you'll keep doing this until there's either no population cubes or no rat tokens in the region where the plague marker is. The next player will begin their turn. Keep doing this, you'll keep placing rat tokens, placing population cubes, trying to stitch each other up with the classes until either the supply rat tokens is completely depleted or a player manages to have all of their population cubes on the board. After that, everyone else apart from the player who went last will have 1 more go. In the final round, you'll only be allowed to use the abilities of the cards that you hold, right? You won't be able to do anything else. And then after that, you will then evaluate all the remaining tokens that are on the board. And after this, the player with the most cubes on the board will be the winner of Rattus. So, what do we like about Rattus? So the first thing that we really like about this game is that the theme works really, really well. Okay, it is a pretty disgusting theme. A game about the Black Death isn't particularly pleasant, right? But the way that the classes' abilities are implemented makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? I mean, the king, for instance, will give a safe haven in the palace to certain people that they really want to, right? So long as there's no plague in the space where you're taking them from. The monk will be able to lead population away from where the plague is. Peasants are going to get busy with the fizzy and they'll be adding more population cubes. So the way that the theme and the special abilities and all the rat tokens and all that sort of stuff all come together, the theme makes a lot of sense. And it's almost like the antithesis of these dry Euros like Castles of Burgundy. Not that Castles of Burgundy is a shit game, it ain't, it's really good. But this one does have a lot more theme going on. It's quite nice to see that in these sort of cube pushing Euro games. So the second thing that we really like about Rattus is that the class cards keep the game quite fresh and exciting. The main thing we like about the class cards is the way that you need them to win the game. You need a good variety of these to win the game, but in doing so, in having all of these cards that you need to win the game, you're going to be leaving yourself open to losing your populations. So the fun comes from finding that balance between powerful cards that you need to implement your strategy and making sure that you take them when you think that the rat tokens have been removed from the game, right? So the next thing we like about Rattus is this gives you the full Euro experience in less than an hour, and it is kind of like a smallish type of game in it, but it does give you that Euro taste and it doesn't expect you to play it for a stupid amount of time like a lot of Euros do. So there's no time wasting in this. It is kind of basic, and if you're looking for a cube pushing Euro game, not everyone is these days, but if you're looking for a cube pushing Euro game and you ain't got a lot of time on your hands, Rattus is going to scratch that itch, so to speak. So what don't we like about Rattus? So the first thing that we don't like about it is that the way that the population is distributed by the players doesn't really make a lot of sense. You'll be placing out population dependent on how many rat tokens are in the region. And this don't make much sense, does it? Because surely it would be the other way around. The less rats that are in that region, the more population you're going to have, because people won't be scared to do what they got to do, right? But no, the more rat tokens you got, the more plague there is, the more population you're going to be adding. And that don't make no sense to me. The next thing we don't like about Rattus is it's too bloody small. I mean, look at the size of the box, right? It is a miniaturised game, yeah? It removes that grandiose sense of the game. It's almost like what they've done with a game called Condottiere, where the original version came in a sort of a relatively large box and they condensed it down into basically a cigar box, right? So when you put this out on the table, it does look a bit miniaturised. It reminds us of the scale of 8 Minute Empire, and whilst it's a little bit more in depth than that, it just feels a little bit too small. You know, it's not like Lilliputian standards or nothing like that, but I just would have liked it to have been a little bit bigger, because if you can imagine El Grande being this sort of size, I don't think it would have had the same impact. So the next thing, the final thing that we don't like about Rattus is that it is simply just another cube pushing Euro game that certain people, or a few people who watch this channel, aren't going to enjoy, right? So it's not for everyone. This one isn't going to change your mind, unfortunately. So to summarise, is Rattus still worth your time and bother today and in the future? So we are going to say, yeah, I like Rattus quite a bit. Obviously, it's not like a mind-blowing experience. It's not going to change the way that you view the world or anything like that. It's not going to do your washing up for you. But yeah, it's a solid, if not a little bit outdated, Euro. It's got a great theme, great length, and it's got a really, really healthy dose of take that doesn't dominate the game too much, right? It suffers from its miniaturised size. It feels like it's been condotiered. I would have liked it if it had been a little bit bigger, a little bit more grandiose, right? But having said that, it is a really good cube pushing Euro that you could play in under an hour. And there's loads of expansions for this. There's the Africanus expansion, you've got the Pied Piper expansion, you've got all sorts of different class cards, loads of promos you can chuck in there, and they're all relatively cheap. So there's loads of different options for Rattus. And yeah, if you like a little bit of Black Death on your table and you don't mind catching a plague where there's no vaccine available, then Rattus might be the game for you. So remember, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment in that section down below, and we'll see you next time.